Well, first up tonight, banks wrote off 349.36 million cedis as bad debt in the first 2 months of this year. That's according to the Domestic Money Bank's income statement published by the Bank of Ghana. Charles Nixon Yeboah has more in this report.
The provisioning for bad debt by the banks was lower than what was recorded in January this year, but higher than the same period last year. The industry's asset quality also improved year on year, evidenced by the decline in the non-performing loans ratio, despite the nominal increase in the stock of NPLs to 8.1 billion cedis in February. The lower NPL ratio came on the back of a decline in the private sector NPL ratio to 15.3% in February this year from 16.5% in February last year. The sectors that recorded declines in their NPL ratios included services, electricity, water and gas, manufacturing, and mining. On the other hand, the sector that recorded the highest increase in its NPL ratio were construction, followed by agriculture, forestry and fishing, and transportation. The sector with the lowest NPL ratio was the services sector, though it is the highest recipient of the industry's loans.
As this is Dr. Benjamin Amwa. He is Executive Director of the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies. Great to have you on the program tonight. What do you make of this latest report by the Bank of Ghana? Bad debts written off 349.36 million cedis. That is slightly lower than the 364.46 million recorded in February 2021. What does this say about the banking industry? Can you hear me?
Banks have improved in terms of their credit management marginally compared to what it was the case as of last year, February, like you rightly said. But then again, this is not too strange because in the credit extension business, once you offer credit, the issue of non-performing loans will be presented to you. So it is not strange that banks year in, year out will be recording non-performing loans. Our interest should be comparatively, is it better this year than last year? And clearly, if it's better this year than last year, then it is something good that we need to at least applaud the banks for recording marginally lower NPLs compared to last year.
And what can the banks do to sustain this trend and reduce losses, especially as we are seeing a rise in interest rates?
Again, the banks must, in this case, look at their whole credit management policy. Before the credit is extended to the customer, the bank should be aware of what we call the adverse selection phenomenon, where it is most likely those who are risky will be selected to have access to loan. And then after, the banks will also have to consider what we call the moral hazard aspect of the loan that has been granted. So if you look at before the credit is extended, the banks must improve on what they do to assess the customer. When the credit is given, the banks must also do the credit management of the loan that has been given. And then finally, the bank should also give the customer what you call a good experience, so the customer will come in for a loan, because so long as the customer comes for a loan, the bank stays in business. If the customer refuses to come for a loan because of a difficulty that he or she has experienced, the bank has lost one business. So it's a trade-off between giving the loan and your NPL. The bank should look at how best they can manage these two aspects.
Well, the report by the Bank of Ghana concluded that the banking sector remains solvent, liquid, and profitable, with most banks maintaining strong capital buffers during the first 2 months of the year. And so that's good news so far.
Yes, it is good news for all industry players in the banking sector, because so long as the banks are okay, they are on good footing, it is good for business, it's good for borrowers, and it's good for depositors like us, because we have some level of assurance that when we deposit our funds with the banks will do good business and they will be in a position to pay us when we make withdrawal request. So the current situation is good for all interested parties.
And this is just the first 2 months of the year. What do you anticipate the outlook to be like? Are they going to sustain this?
It's most likely they will sustain it. It's most likely because, with COVID, we are now having a strategy and how to do business with COVID hovering around. So it's not like when we're not too sure. So now businesses are back. I think banks are now back. And we all have a clear idea of how businesses are going to be going forward. So it is easy going forward for the banks to maintain this type of performance and to also manage the NPL, because if you look at what led to the banking sector cleanup, one of the major issues was the unsustainable NPLs. So the regulator, Bank of Ghana, is very much worried. And I believe that the banks themselves are also worried, so we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. So indeed, going forward, we believe strongly that the banks will improve on this good performance.
Dr. Benjamin Amwa, thank you so much, Executive Director of CEF. It's always great to speak with you on Business Live.